to describe what his second coming is going to be like. This is what the world is going to look like by the time I come back again. Violent, ungodly, and immoral. Yes. But to the extent where there is no conversion, no faith, no turning to God at all, that, I think, is lacking nowadays. Because we've always had violence, we've always had sexual immorality, la, 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 la. The question is, do we have faith still? And the answer is yes. What characterized both of these cases is that there was no faith, no heeding of God's warning, no anything, and they suffered the consequences for it. Yes?
If we go back to Hebrews in 11:7,
yes?
it says that Noah, it says, by this he condemned the world, and he is not Jesus, it's Noah.
Yes.
Why isn't it Jesus is the one that's, or God is the one that's, imposing the judgment? Why is it then passed down to Noah as the one that's been...
Because he was obedient and the rest were not, so they condemned themselves. He condemned the world by being obedient. He was obedient to God, they weren't, so they condemned themselves to their own judgment. Could they have been saved? Could they have gone on the ark? Sure. God wasn't particular, but the fact is that they just reviled him and just ignored him and everything. They condemned themselves.
So I guess the question then, the hypothetical question, I don't know if there's an answer, but if Noah hadn't built the ark, then wouldn't everybody have been condemned, including Noah?
Yep.
So Noah's act really wasn't the determinant factor of whether people were condemned or not. They were condemned to whether Noah built or didn't.
Correct. Yeah, you could put it that way, yes. But the fact that God gave them an ability to save themselves and they did not take advantage of it, they are doubly condemning that they've cut their own throats. It's not God that does it, it's them. He gave them a way out. They chose not to. In the same way, God gave us Jesus and the church to save all mankind. People that just poo-poo it and turn away from it and just ignore it are cutting their own throats. It's not God that's... Again, we're back to God doesn't send anyone to hell. They send themselves there, their rejection of God and his love for them. And their way of escape. If you don't take advantage of it, you're going to suffer the consequences, and you have no one to blame but yourself. Unless you repent, right. And that goes with the story of Noah. Could have anyone gone on board the ark? Yes. Was the ark for everyone? Yes. Did everyone take advantage of it? No. Then whose fault is that? Them. They chose and decided to love wickedness rather than God. Even though God said, stop it, I'm going to destroy everyone because of this wickedness, they're saying, that's nice, you're crazy.
And if they repented as they were drowning, would they still have?
Oh, that's for God to figure out. That's for God to figure out. That's for God to figure out. She said, what if they were starting to repent? It's like, okay, I believe, I want back in the ark. And it's like, would those people that were drowning outside the ark be saved? I don't know. You'll have to ask God. My guess is no. My guess is no. It's too late. There's a point where things are too late. There is a point. I've got news for you, my brothers and sisters. Not everyone is going to heaven. It just is. Who that is, I have no idea. No idea. And we won't know until the final judgment, quite honestly. What you should concern yourself with is not only saving your own soul, but preaching that to others to save their own souls. God has given us a far greater means of salvation than Noah and the ark. And if you don't take advantage of it, I don't know what more God can do for you. Okay? So was anyone saved last minute and the flood and the rain was happening? I have no idea. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. It's not beyond God to be that merciful at the end. But is it likely? Probably not. It's the whole idea, was Judas saved? Probably not. But is it impossible? No, nothing's impossible for God. But it has everything to do with the disposition of the person at the time of the death. It has everything to do with that. So the short answer is, keep yourself ready, because you never know the day or the hour. Yes?
Rather than radio this morning said, you commit a mortal sin and you say, I'll go to confession next week. Who are you to be given a week?
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. Always keep your sin list short with God. All right. So this is how the New Testament looks back on the story of Noah. I'm wondering if I can get through this in 5 minutes. Probably not, but nothing's impossible with God.
Amen.
I mentioned this already, Noah as a second Adam. This was, I thought, a very good picture. I liked it. The story of Noah is really a story about the second Adam. Noah and his family are given the same command. We already discussed this. So if you want the biblical verses, compare Genesis 1:28 with Genesis 9:1. It's the same command. Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. Now there's a reason he doesn't say that to Abraham, Moses, David, or Jesus. Because literally, Adam was the only person on the earth. So he had to fill it. Well, after the flood, it was Noah, Mrs. Noah, and his 3 sons and daughters-in-law. So what did they have to do? Get busy. You got to fill the earth again. I don't know what more to tell you. It's the same command. Why? Because Noah is a second Adam. Adam was given dominion over all the animals in the original creation. Noah brings all the animals into the ark to care for them during the flood. Why didn't God just save his family? Why save all the animals? Well, because there is a lesson here to be gained. It's to say that just as Adam was given governance over all of the creation, the animals and stuff, so was Noah. So he is like Adam again. This is Adam part 2. It's the story of Adam part 2. Okay? It was through a tree that caused sin to come into the world. Noah saved the world through wood. Lots of wood. Lots of wood. The ark was huge in the dimensions that we have given in the story. It's huge. God made a covenant with Adam after they fell. Genesis 3:15. God makes a covenant with Noah after the flood. If I can get rid of that sign. Whoa. Oh, really? We're going to do that? I'll fix you. I got you, my pretty. All right, Genesis 9. This is the end of the story. God said to Noah and his sons with him, "As for me, I'm establishing my covenant with you." This is the first explicit use of the word covenant in the Old Testament. God didn't use that word with Adam, but it was implied in the promise that he made in Genesis 3:15. This is the first time the word itself, covenant, is used. And it's going to come back again with Abraham. Okay? God explicitly says, "I'm making a covenant with you." And remember, what is a covenant? A marriage. Okay? It's not just a contract or an agreement for goods and services. This is a family-building relationship creation. I'm making a covenant with you and your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, every animal of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark. So it's a covenant, it's a re-covenanting with all of creation, just like God did in the first 7 days of creation. I establish my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. That's God's promise to us all. He's not going to destroy the world again by flood. The next time it'll be fire. It will. He will recreate through fire in the next creation. Read 2 Peter chapter 3. This is the sign of the covenant I make between me and you and every living creature for all future generations. I've set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and a bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant. Notice that. The covenant that God made with Noah is still in effect. It didn't go away with Jesus. Every covenant God made since Adam is still in effect. It's just perfected in Jesus. Jesus said, I did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. Got it? So the law, we don't get rid of it. We just fulfill it in Jesus. Okay? In the same way, the covenant God made with Noah is still in effect. It didn't go away. God's still not going to destroy the world with water. He'll do it with fire. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I've established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. So there you are. That's the covenant God made. So we're now down to 2 covenants that God has made throughout history. One with Adam, and the promise of that was the seed of the woman will crush the serpent's head. Now we have the covenant with Noah, which is, I'll never destroy the world and all the flesh with water in a flood again. And you can take both of them to the bank. We didn't get to the very last part, so actually I'll save it for next week. But next week, we'll get into the story a little bit more, because there's a lot of questions that come with this. And I wanted to end with that, but I've already seen the time. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and grant you peace.
Amen.
Have a good night.